are Arachnarok spiders plus Flingers, any good in patch 6.0.4. The Flinger version is new, but the Arachnarok is an old standby and one of the instantly recognizable linchpins of the Greenskin roster. It is not a generalist like the Giant in some senses, but it can do a lot to wreck your foes regardless. New spicy variants just add to the fun. I tell you, these are great spiders, man! Recruited for 1700 gold and 425 upkeep. The Venerable base version arrives with 10,029 health on Ultra. Armor is 120! That's a lot more than the Giant had. There is no missile resistance. Leadership is 65, which is a fair bit less than the Giant, but not crazy bad for monsters. Speed 57 and charge speed 75 are a weird speed, but basically in the troll range. Melee attack begins at 58, and moreover inflicts poison with each strike, with an attack interval of 3.2, and that's viciously fast in terms of low downtime. Splash target size is large, or trolls on down, and max targets damaged in the current system is 5, which sounds about right. Melee defense of 30 might disappoint. Weapon strength 500 is split between base 140 and armor piercing 360, and unusually and importantly, there's a bonus versus large of 20. That's far from the best around, but it's also very, very decent, considering the high base melee attack. Charge bonus is 40, and mass is 4000, so we can safely say this spider slashes above its weight and mass. In addition, and I expected this to be a stat card oversight for some reason, the Arachnarok is one of those units that's always had a bow-ranged attack in a radius from goblins atop it. The ammo is high per projectile compared to a normal archer, reload time 5 seconds, range 100, but the point is, this too inflicts poison, and that's amazing in some situations. Basically when the auto-aim attacks something with real power and not just chaff. In addition to causing fear and terror and being considered a siege attacker, the unit has Strider, meaning it was one of the scariest entities to fight in Total War Warhammer 1 in a dark forest. No forest penalties whatsoever, either to speed or to melee attack. The Flinger version comes for 1950 gold and 488 upkeep, a mighty sum, and has 9,997 health, so it's 32 less, for a 10k health unit. Huge loss, I tell you. Huge loss. As for the other base stats, they are unchanged. Nothing's different. Of course, there's an artillery-esque thing on the back rather than just archers. Spoiler, this is not a fire whilst moving unit. It has to stand still to fling. But it's very nice that it has all the melee stats we have come to love. Ammunition of 22 is actually very traditional. Range 400 is entirely decent. Each hit inflicts sticky webs, slowing by 25% for 10 seconds and adding 1% fatigue per second if I'm reading this correctly. Direct impacts are 90 base and 325 armor piercing damage, but there's an 8 meter detonation radius, and within that, targets take 30 base and 65 armor piercing explosive damage, which is pretty devastating. The spider casts 1 stone per fling. Artillery arc, reload time 18, total accuracy the default 20, calibration distance 300, so extra inaccurate past that. Calibration area 70 is a lot of base drift, which gets less with veterancy and total accuracy increases, and interestingly there's a penetration size cap of large, and a max target hit past the first of 10, so there can be a lot of entities affected by direct damage before the explosion. In theory, pray to the dice gods. This one has Strider and causes fear and terror like the original, plus Siege Attacker. In the Redline skills, and I was paranoid and checked, the big lads grants melee attack plus 6 and weapon strength plus 12% at 3 pips to both variants, and indeed all variants of Arachnarok. Biggest and strongest grants rank 7 spiders melee defense plus 5, weapon strength plus 12%, and missile resistance 15%, and remember it is armored, but no missile resistance default. In the tech tree, Big Creep revolutionizes the unit, offering plus 15% weapon strength, that's in melee, and Stalk. It's not the fastest unit, but good lord, Stalk, and that applies to the Flingers too. For both varieties, Heavy Monsters enables strapped plates, 50 scrap based, which is itself plus 20% missile resistance, and again this is a big deal because while they're slightly faster than giants, they're still high priority enemy targets, especially armor piercing range. Spiky Leg Bits also requires the same tech to unlock, and for a mighty 70 scrap base, but your reward is weapon strength plus 15% and charge bonus plus 20, major improvements to charging and brawling capabilities. Salvage Flingers is required for bigger rocks, a tech shared with the Goblin Rock Lawbearer, and of course only affects the Flinger version. But what this provides is plus 20% to the detonation radius, since the Flinger not only does good damage but provides an impactful speed and fatigue debuff. Being able to catch more entities for damage and more units for debuffing can be valuable. So how do we use the Arachnaroks? Setting aside the truly special tactics like stealth special forces, single entity monsters, what we're basically left with is a big spider, and a big spider with extra artillery benefits. The latter should be combined with your wannabe elf army variety. Lots of errors and lots of goblins or orcs firing them, upgraded as far as you can, and benefiting joyously from speed debuffs for critical enemies like Scarbrand or enemy giants. The principle is much the same. Slow them down and stick it to them hard. So it's not just what the catapult does by itself, it's how you can use that to improve your army as a whole. Now, aside from that, the Arachnarok is a blend of Bruiser, Anti-Large Specialist, Mobile High Armor Anvil, and Chaos Creator. It attacks fast and hard. If I can identify an Achilles heel, and remember I said in the past, Achilles was a bad dude who came with the Causes Fear and Causes Terror traits. It's that 4000 mass means it can be knocked around by sufficiently powerful impacts, be they from giants or from cannonballs. So you can't just send them against the world and pretend that's okay. You still need tactics and suppression of enemy artillery, but even dinky wolf riders have a shot at that. Rather, what you really want the spiders for is to hunt. They're not fast enough to catch a lot of cavalry in the open field, but slowing them down inside a melee situation so they can't escape, and tearing through heavy armor are well within the spider's leg reach. The Greenskins don't have a better unit for the job with this blend of heavy armor and decent speed. You don't want them out there alone, no, but multiple spiders are a horrifying threat to many opponents. Speaking of that, one of the main reasons to have the unit is that you can have more of them in campaign than a single goblin shaman on a mount, and hey, it takes serious leveling to unlock that map. Yes, the shamans are great in that situation, but you only get one per army tops that way, and what you really want is a kind of critical mass, using the spiders to take pressure off killy but low chin units that need to charge in to make good things happen, like boar boys or boar chariots. And remember, max Turkus damage is only 5, so they can drown in a sufficiently large enough horde. So just be aware of that, and that they do have some disadvantages. I advise to be crafty but also aggressive. Often the value of an Arachnarok is not so much what it kills, as what reaction it forces from an enemy unprepared to seriously kill it, or forcing a mistake in a mad dash effort to do so. You just need to be prepared. If you lose spiders, it's going to hurt. So, try not to. Take care, and have fun spreading arachnophobia across old and new world alike. It's just not the same when the spider is as big as your house.